Welcome to another episode of Heated Conversations. Super excited about this episode. We have another college on the podcast today, talking about their university, talking about the academics, talking about their gymnastics program, and all the things they're excited about. Today we have the head coach of Auburn University Gymnastics, and super excited to have Jeff Graba on and to talk about his program and what he's excited about this year. Welcome, Jeff. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time out of, I know, a busy off season and a Friday to be able to come and talk to me and talk to the viewers about your program and kind of have, really the point of these podcasts and conversations are to help educate student athletes who are in club, as well as the parents and coaches about different universities, what they have to offer, their campuses and where they're located, as well as their gymnastics team. And then most importantly to me, I think, is who's at the head and the coaches that are there, because I think that makes a program is the personnel. I think if you can go to different locations, universities and stuff like that. But if you're going to be part of certain programs, especially athletics, I think the head coach, you want to align with their philosophy and their thinking. And I think that would make you be able to get the most out of that gymnastics experience while you're there. And so I want to start off by asking, where is the University of Auburn located?
A good question. When I took the job, I had to look on the map. Actually, when I took the interview, I wanted to make sure I knew where I was going. It's basically between Atlanta and the Gulf of Mexico, and I looked at it as similar to Columbus, Georgia. So okay. It's inside of Alabama just a little bit, but about 30 miles. And we are in the Central Time Zone, so we are very close to the Eastern Time Zone, and we are south of Atlanta quite a bit. So
very cool. Now, with having two big universities that are pretty known with Alabama as well as Auburn, and no professional sports that are there in regards to like big professional sports. Do you guys get a lot of fans, at Auburn just because, the fans are not really split in regards to a professional team within the university?
Yeah, I do think, in the Southeastern Conference, I think that's part of the story as well, is, college athletics is pretty dominant down here. Definitely in the state of Alabama, it's pretty dominant because there aren't a whole lot of professional sports teams that are, you can go to the Atlanta Falcons and stuff like that, but as far as drivable and easily accessible, your college campus is going to be a lot more user-friendly and time-friendly, and definitely on local TV. So I think it's just built a local fan base for all of our major colleges here in the state.
Very cool. And one thing you did mention is that you're in the Southeastern Conference, which, it's abbreviated the SEC for people who may know it as that. Being in that conference, what does that come with? Like, is it pretty competitive, especially with gymnastics? For those who may not know about the different conferences within the NCAA, is the SEC conference pretty competitive for gymnastics?
Yeah, I think, years ago when we had the Super Six before the Final Four, when our finals had 6 teams in it, I remember a year when there were 5 SEC teams and 1 non-SEC team in the finals. That's a pretty good wrap up of how competitive it is. Our on any given year, our lowest ranked team will be still in the top 25. So I think we're the toughest gymnastics conference in the country, and I think a lot of sports would say that here in the SEC. I just think basketball, football, it's really, really difficult here to compete at a high level and to have a great record when you're competing against all these other teams that are supposed to be winning national championships. All of us are favored to win until we go against each other.
Yeah, no, definitely. Which probably brings out a lot of competitiveness within your athletes, as well as, you guys as coaches and your universities and stuff like that. And also we'll talk about recruiting and stuff like that. But what are some of the other, things that you guys offer in regards to academics, the campus there? What are some of the perks of, or even just some of the academic things that you guys are known for people who are looking into the university? Because I know, especially if you're an athlete, you shouldn't be going to a university just for their athletic program, but also what would you do after you're done with your time at the university? What is going to be your forever job? So what are some of those academic highlights and or academic programs that are highlighted at Auburn, as well as what does campus life look like?
Yeah, I think nobody's, I guess you could go pro in our sport, but that's not, it's not like football and basketball. So you're going to graduate and get an actual legitimate job somewhere, right out of college, most likely if you're a gymnast. So yes, definitely choose a school that gives you the academic and athletic experience that you're looking for. I would say for us, what sets us apart a little bit, we are a smaller campus as far as a major university, 25 to 30,000 students, including graduate students, is basically our max. So it's not like some of the other major universities that will have 50 or 55,000 students on campus. And we are sort of capped out at that. The campus is Auburn University is right in the town of Auburn, Alabama. So we share the same police force. We're everything. We are the town. And so it's a really small college town, and they wanted to keep the flavor of campus as being sort of a family environment. Everybody gets to know everybody a little bit more in a little bit more close quarters and smaller class sizes. So I think that's one of the things that separates us, because we are a major player in athletics, but we don't have the student numbers that some of the other universities do. I went to a major 54,000 plus university, and when you're looking for a university to go to, I came from a very small town, so I wanted to go to a big university. And this is a sort of the best mix of the two. It's not extremely small by any means, but it's definitely not a monster. And we're pretty good at everything that we do here. We have a great business school. We have a med school on campus. We have a really good pre-med program. And then I think we've had 5 astronauts graduate from here. We have a great engineering program. And a lot of our engineers work in Huntsville, Alabama, which is trying to become the center for NASA at this point. So, wow. Very, very good connections with a whole bunch of different aspects of journalism school and everything else. Yeah.
And when it comes to your gymnasts, what are typically some of the programs that they're in? Are they usually in a mix of programs? And how does Auburn's athletes, or at least their gymnasts, do academically?
Yeah, we have a pretty rigorous academic program here. We have a little bit of everything. As far as the university has a pretty rigorous one. If you're in engineering, your GPA is going to be different than if you're in kinesiology, which that's about the 2 major places that our girls will end up, either in engineering. I guess business is pretty big, and somewhere down the kinesiology route, which would be, we've got, I don't know, in the last 10 years here, I think we've had 5 doctors come out of here, 5 gymnasts who have become doctors. Oh. And right now we have 2 engineers. One is working on the rocket that's going to, she works for Boeing and working on the rocket that's going to go to the moon. That's one of her projects. And another one is working for the Defense Department in Germany. I'm not allowed to know what she does, but when she sees me, we talk generalities, but she has top secret clearance. So we can basically, and anywhere in between, we've had people graduate that are in journalism and are into broadcasting and everything else.
Very cool. Very cool. That sounds really exciting, especially having ones really contribute to groundbreaking things in regards to, like going to the moon and exploring that and building the spaceship, or being a part of that to go there, as well as, how you mentioned, being part of the defense team, especially with, classified information, and you can't really talk about those things. So that really speaks highly of the academic side of Auburn and stuff like that. And also how you mentioned earlier, how it's a big player in regards to sports, but not a big campus. So it allows people to kind of get connected a little bit more to their classes, which could be overwhelming, especially if you're an athlete, to be, taking on big classes where you might feel lost or might feel like you don't get the help. Plus you have the commitment of going to your athletic practices and their sporting events and their games and stuff like that. So it could be a lot, and having those smaller class sizes makes it a little bit easier to access those teachers, especially if time isn't in your favor already with doing athletics, where a normal just student could, take their free time and go and see teachers or go and see academic help and stuff like that, to be able to really maximize their academic experience at their university, which I think gym or athletes in general, have a huge respect because of the workload that they choose to take on, but also the workload that they're successful in taking on, and competing at a high level and also, performing at a high level in their academics, and graduating, as you said, with, 5 at least doctors in your time, which is, I think, a great thing. I don't know the stats of how many doctors are, come out of, especially with gymnastics and different programs and stuff like that. But I'm assuming that'd probably be a pretty good, percentage that you guys are in right now.
Yeah. But our athletes are pretty driven. Gymnasts are by nature, I think, pretty driven people. So, it's, the sky's the limit wherever they go. And, we're sort of fun to follow and track on their success, not just here, but as they leave here. So it's definitely rewarding.
And is that something that's intentional in regards to the type of athletes that you bring in that are, in the recruiting process, that you find out that they're already like that they're driven academically, but also, athletically in their goals, and that's something that you're bringing in? Or is that something that they kind of just figure out once they kind of get here and they see, like, this is a culture of what things are, and that's something they adapt to?
Probably a little bit of both. I think you want driven individuals. You want to identify those people who are driven. But also, I didn't know what I was going to do till I switched my major in my 3rd year in college. So I think that's normal. I think it's absolutely normal to learn things in college and to change your perspective. So we embrace that as well. And at the same time, that's supposed to be what's happening in college. You're supposed to be growing. You're supposed to be figuring yourself out. And our goal has always been to support, to the highest extent that we can, them attaining their dreams. So if they want to be a nurse, which is a really difficult program to get into, we've had 2 nurses graduate from me in the last couple of years. And it does impact their practice schedule. It does impact a lot of things because you have to go to the hospital at different hours, and it isn't as nearly as predictable as we'd like it to be.
Right.
But we've had to work with that and that's our commitment, is if you want to be a nurse and you want to be a high level gymnast, we're going to figure out how to do it. And that might mean we work in the morning with a couple of athletes and then in the afternoon with the rest of the team. But that's really what we're looking for. If you're a driven person and you come here and decide on doing something, the sky's the limit. And then our job is to support that. Yeah.
No, that's very good. I want to transition and kind of talk about you as a person, and as well as your journey to getting to where you are right now. You kind of talked about you coming from a small town. So where did you come from, and what was your gymnastics experience in regards to growing up? Were you a gymnast yourself, or were you an athlete of different sports? And then what was the kind of the trail that led to Auburn in regards to your coaching journey?
Yeah, that's we don't have all day, do we? That's a really good question. So I do have a twin brother, and I'm going to probably be answering for him as much as me because we have a very similar history. We grew up in a small town in northern Minnesota, and really we started out as wrestlers. Up there wasn't really any gymnastics. There was wrestling, and we actually did a lot of wrestling all the way through into high school, and started gymnastics as an aside to get better at wrestling, if that makes sense. Our wrestling coach wanted us to get into dance or something like that would help footwork and agility.
Yeah.
And my sister was in a gymnastics program, so we went there. My mom put us in a dance situation for one day to see if we would like that. And I looked at the gymnastics thing that was going on, and I'm like, that looks a heck of a lot more fun than what I'm doing here. So I want to say we were 11 or 12 when we did that. So I was a little bit late, not for guys so much, but I was a little bit late getting to the gymnastics end of it. But I just fell in love with the sport. You're fully in control of this sport. This is whatever you put in is what you get out.
Right.
And I love that a bit about wrestling, but the problem with wrestling for me, not outside of the dieting, was the other person had a say also. So in our sport, in gymnastics, it's you. You have all the say, and you own all the glory, and you actually get all the frustration that goes along with you being fully in charge of your career. So we did do that. I would say in college, we coached gymnastics. I wasn't good enough to get a scholarship, and there wasn't a lot of scholarships for guys in our sport at the time. I did have some opportunities in wrestling, but I did not want to wrestle in college. And so we ended up coaching. My brother and I both ended up starting our coaching career pretty full speed my first or second year in college.
Okay.
And then, we started managing our own gyms, and then eventually just decided, we should just get a gym ourselves and put it together. And I think 98, when was that? 98 or somewhere around in there. He still owns the gym. It's still going. So we were one of those businesses that survived. What is it? 50% don't make it to the 50 or something. But we survived that. And then I went into college coaching. We had a choice. We had grown the Midwest gymnastics to a point where we would have to decide to either open up another site, or I was going to have to do something else. And I had married into a family with 3 older kids, and they needed college education. So a good friend of mine bumped me in the direction of college, and the rest is history. I sold my part of the gym to my brother and went into college, and that was in 2003.
Very cool. And when you started coaching college, where did you start, and what was the path and the tiers that you kind of took to get to Auburn?
Well, I originally started at Hamline University. When we owned our own gym, I was coaching as an assistant coach at Hamline University just to make ends meet. We weren't making as much money as a startup doesn't make a whole lot of money. So my brother was coaching a high school program, and I was coaching Hamline University. So that's really where I got it started. And then when I went into college full time, Ray Korn at Utah State gave me my first opportunity. So I went there for 2 years, and then moved down to Salt Lake City at the University of Utah for 5 years with Greg Marsden. And then I got this job in 2010.
Very cool. There's a lot of similarities, well, kind of similarities, but I kind of took some of the similar paths that you did in regards to, I'm from Minnesota, but I'm more from the Twin Cities area. I went to high school in Cottage Grove. And so, we're kind of around the same areas. And I know, you're from like the Forest Lake area.
Yep.
So Forest Lake was in our conference when I was in high school. So, and then for me, my first college opportunity was at Utah State with Natalie Walsh. I was a volunteer there, and And so, some of those similarities, so I can understand some of the places that you come from and some of the culture things that you probably, had and stuff like that. The one thing I didn't do though, I never really coached or stepped into, club gyms. I was coaching high school, and, from what you probably know and understand, high school gymnastics is a lot different than college and club gymnastics, just because in high school, the time allotted for gymnastics is similar to any really school season, unless they have their own program within their high school or something like that, or you decide to find a program that, a high school that has an all-year program, or you have some club affiliation. And so it took a lot of probably manual labor, right? You didn't have time to set up all the drills, to do all the skills and stuff like that. You kind of had to do your best in that, 4 months time to be able to help these athletes get to, peak potential in the sport and stuff like that. And if you were blessed, you got go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was the secret, right? I mean, my brother and I coached North St. Paul and White Bear Lake. He also, when I went to Hamlin, he was coaching at Montemedi. And, some of those programs, you have to roll out the foam rolls.
Yep.
You gotta carry the beam out.
Yeah.
And you gotta put it away at night. So, and your athletes are doing that with you.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, that built a lot of character. It forced me to organize better I was 19, 20, 21. I couldn't organize myself getting to the local gas station, but I had to figure this thing out. So,
right.
Much less getting them on a bus and going somewhere. I mean, for crying out loud, you have to grow up fast when you're a high school coach.
You do.
And there are some really good coaches. Bart Rostowski at Flips Gymnastics, and a bunch of his buddies had played with that as well. And it builds people.
It does. And having that experience like you do, because I forgot to mention, I went to Hamlin for 2 years. And so I understand, that a little bit too. I'm not sure what it was like then, but I knew it, under Doug Burns, who still is there. And so,
Doug and I worked together. He was an assistant with me. Yeah, we're
cool.
We're still really very close friends. Yep.
Yes. No, so I understand, kind of the landscapes that you're talking about. But I agree with you. In regards to high school gymnastics, one thing that made me valuable when I started getting into college as well as club is the ability to spot, and the ability to spot really a lot of different ranges of skills, right? And being able to feel like you can control what an athlete is doing, or being able to teach them what you want to teach them through just spotting, just because you're going to get all range of caliber, right? You might get beginners, or you might get kids who have club experiences who are either former level 10s or level 9s, 8s, so on and so forth. And, you have to be able to have a range. And then when I got into college, that allowed me to have a place, especially volunteering, to be able to, spot the athletes on floor, and bars and stuff like that. And then it allowed me to really grow. And I was similar to you. I was a wrestler. I played football. I did track. I wasn't a gymnast per se. And so I had to learn the sport backwards, understand what was happening in my hands, what I was spotting, and then what got me to the point to where I knew what a back handspring was and how to break that down. And, learning that process, through college gymnastics and then now in club gymnastics. And so it gives you a plethora of opportunity, experience to be able to meet a lot of athletes' needs and to understand them, because you also know that, not everybody has the same talent or has the same work ethic, and there's opportunities for so many people to do the sport and to be able to have a passion for it and to excel to whatever level that they want to, and to be able to cater to them and understand what a certain coach is going through, or what an athlete is going through. I say that all to say that, you have which you probably already know, so much experience with the path that you went on.
Yeah, I think, look, to me, that's the beauty of this sport, is that you get out what you put in, whether you're coaching or you're an athlete, and you can maximize as much as if you are 100% in and dedicated and driven. The sport has an avenue for you to be very successful, and you just have to embrace that avenue, and you've got to have that work ethic and that focus. And you have to be lucky. Look, you got to stay healthy. You got to do all that other stuff. It's not A plus B equals C, but it's what I loved about it. And I tell everybody, it's all the same. When I was at Hamlin, and now that I'm here in the SEC, the sport is still the same. The techniques are still the same. We might have a deeper squad than some of the other teams. We might score a different score than the other teams, but the actual sport is the same. And I remember taking second at Hamlin in the NCGA national championships, and that was the same reward. I felt the same way as when I took second when I was at University of Utah.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling, because the competition is that fierce when you're out on that floor. So the same thing that can be said about my brother won the state meet at Matamidi, and that's still one of his biggest achievements. It's a high school state meet, but you got to beat those other people who are funded the same way and have the same amount of talent on their team and have the same time constraints. So I love the competition part of it.
Yeah. No, I love that. And what are some of the lessons that you've learned that you've taken into your coaching throughout those experiences, as well? Who are some mentors, and what lessons did you learn from them?
Well, I mean, look, you can only have one winner, and I want to make sure, like my goal is always to win, but I want to win the right way. I don't want to win at the cost of the athlete. I want to make sure that we're making sure that we graduate healthy people, making sure that we graduate happy people, if at all possible. I mean, this is a small segment of their life when they're in college. They also have a lot of other things going on. I don't get control, and I don't even get much knowledge of some of the other stuff that's going on in their life. But when they leave this program, that's important to me. We talk a lot about, is the ring worth it? In 20 years, when you look back, I want to make sure that they say, yes, I did get a ring, and the ring was worth it.
Yeah.
So, and that's at any level. I've just wanted to do that. My coaches, when I was an athlete, had that perspective, and I wanted to share that. Bruce Thompson is a wrestling coach of mine that was just in my formative years, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th grade, and just instilled a tremendous amount into me about you can win and you can do it the right way, but it's about you growing as a human being.
Yeah.
Tim Tenzing was my club gymnastics coach, and his brother, he had a couple brothers that coached that I ended up coaching with. He was very influential when I was younger, in the same age group as I was also doing gymnastics. In college, Doug Day was a University of Minnesota assistant coach. Went to the Air Force Academy and was the head coach there. He was the guy who got me into college. Ernestine Russell is her maiden name. She was the Clarion head coach, won a national championship, and was the University of Florida head coach for quite a few years, and actually was the assistant coach with me at Utah State when I got there. Had a huge influence over me. And then Greg Marsden, everything I know about selling this place out and trying to succeed at a high level, he shared with me. And he used to say, like, it's on you to learn it, but it's definitely going to be available for me to discover it. So without him, I wouldn't be here either.
Very cool. No, I think that's great. I think it's very good, especially what you said about how it is important to win, but it's important to win the right way, and not just trying to win at all cost. You're trying to win at life. You're trying to win in the sport and helping you be the best version of yourself, right? Not just thinking, the ring is everything and whatever I can do to get there, as well as having people who understand that, the sport is a performance-based sport, especially in college. College athletics has that, and you want to put fans in the arena so then they are able to enjoy all the hard work that these athletes are doing, especially these gymnasts, and having it be worth it. Right? Having the fans enjoy it, makes it worth it. And when you can do it at a really high level and a competitive level, especially being in the SEC and getting those conference championships and then, competing for those national championships and stuff like that, I think is huge. And I've had a short experience, and I've been fortunate at the Division III level to be able to win a national championship with the team and to have that feeling and seeing those athletes and seeing them now, which you've probably seen many who've graduated and now are married and have kids and have those things and are, winning in life. And those things are super important. And, they also had, like you said, that ring and the opportunity to be able to do something great with their sport. But it was a tool that helped them be successful in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To take that with you the rest of your life. It's in your toolbox.
Yep. Now, kind of transitioning to your program, who are the other coaches that you have with you, and how many athletes do you have on your current team?
So the coaches, we have 3 coaches in addition to me. So Kurt Hedinger, Sarah Carver-Milne, and Brooke Leonard Fincher. She's married, and I think she has to decide which last name she's going to take at this point. But I'm going to use both. Cool. All have club experience at the same time as have college experience, and I think that's important to us that we have a little bit of a developmental experience, because even though at our level right now you don't develop everything like you would do it in the JO program, the developmental program, and some of the other college programs, you still have to get better. You still have to develop. And I think that knowledge base helps as you're trying to improve a skill or trying to acquire a new skill over the summer. So, we have 21 athletes on the team. That wasn't typically we have 18. We ended up, having an additional, young person transfer in that, we thought was going somewhere else. And so we went to 19. That was fine with us. And then we had two seniors, super seniors that exercised their COVID year and came back. So that's why we're at 21. It's a big number for us when we're typically at 18 to 20.
Very cool. And what are some of the standards that you have for your athletes in your program? What are some of those pillars that Auburn Gymnastics is based off of under your leadership?
Well, I think the main thing is we're trying to work with accountability. You want a set of standards that you're gonna try to sustain throughout the whole season. We used to say expectations a lot, but I don't like the word expectations as much as standards. The standards is a self-imposed thing, and expectations is something other people think of you. Yeah. So I feel like we got to be really careful. I think especially in the social media world that we're living in, right, be really careful to let other people determine what they think you should do. Our standards should be really high, and we should hold ourselves to those standards, and that's the accountability part. So a lot of talk about standards and accountability amongst our young people. The goal is to get them to pull in the same direction and to hold each other to a high standard. So this is my program is not necessarily a top-down program. It's a ground-up program. The athletes are just as much in charge as the coaches, because they're the culture. They're the people who are building this.
Yeah. And some may know who have been following college gymnastics or following you guys already, but as those who may know, a prominent athlete in the world of gymnastics came to University of Auburn in Suni Lee, Olympic gold medalist. What did that do for your program? And also, if you may if you're willing to talk about it, what was her, personality like in regards to coming from being on top of the world on a world stage, and where everybody in the nation could see, or everybody in the world really could see who she was, and having, the opportunity to compete and win gold, and then coming to a university and competing. What did that do for your team, for your program, but also the type of person that she was? And when I say that, was she able to just be a college athlete in, just be, one of the girls, or, was it where, the celebrity in regards to what she had, acclaimed winning gold kind of was a center of attention, when she was there, at least on her?
Yeah, I think, well, there's first off, it's never been done before. So we can't compare it to anybody else, and I'm not sure we'll be able to compare it to anybody else again. It's a really difficult thing to do, to win the gold medal in the Olympics, and then to decide to go to a college program. I do believe that it's probably emotionally and mentally maybe one of the hardest things you can do. Half the country, or half the world, we still are, all over the world, social media comments from Vietnam and from South Africa, and a lot of people are interested. A lot of eyeballs were on her when she came here, and I don't know if anybody really understands that. I mean, it was going to be a net loss for her. That she would have, to come here would have meant sacrificing probably total freedom in making money. So she got NIL and was able to make money here, but you also had to go to school, and which not necessarily what you have had to do outside of that. She was already always going to be scrutinized because you're the Olympic gold medalist. So are you allowed to have a bad day if you're the Olympic gold medalist? Because all these other athletes are out there saying, I beat the Olympic gold medalist. And, I think it was, I view Suni as extremely courageous. I think it's something she wanted to do. Yeah. She's a driven person who likes to, her version of it is, I want to conquer challenges. I want to do things people have not done before.
Yeah.
And she embraces it. And if you look at her gymnastics, she does that. Just her gymnastics is, in and of itself, is very courageous. And the way she lived her life was really courageous. When she was down here, I was able to witness it. So I think it's important for people to understand. I think from the outside, it seems all fun. Yeah. But if you just put yourself in Suni's shoes for a little bit, imagine going into a meet. You're a failure if you don't win everything you do now.
Right.
And I do think that can take its toll emotionally and mentally on a young person. In the gym, that was our goal, is to make it as much of a normal environment for a student athlete as we could.
Yeah.
But that's impossible. I mean, we had people showing up, staring in our windows every day to see Suni Lee. So, I think it was hard for her teammates to be friends with her because of the attention. It was hard for her to be herself because of the attention. Yeah. But I give her straight A's. I mean, she came in, she was unbelievable. She's such a giving person. She's a very fun person. I think our team and her gelled really well. They loved each other. They still do. She was down here a week ago just to, catch her breath from training and sort of get a little bit of fun with her friends back. And they enjoyed it as well. So, again, our goal is to support her and all our athletes in their dreams. And we feel very, very blessed to have had her for a couple of years here. Yeah. And I'm definitely, all of us are definitely in support of whatever she can do, and we'll help in any way we possibly can.
No, that's good. I think, at least for me, that was one of those questions, especially, how I kind of worded it, being a celebrity, right? Having people come, speaking out the window, which I'm sure is not as normal unless, well, I guess nowadays it can become more normal with this NIL and social media, really social media more so than NIL, but I think NIL amplifies it to a different level just because I think adding the number value to someone, who might already have an influence social media wise brings eyes and attention. But as you said, for her to be able to, be courageous in doing that and having the support that you guys had for her, from the outside perspective, people could assume, all these things like, getting there and thinking that you're the stuff just because, look at me, look what I've accomplished. And, I'm coming here to help you or serve you. Right. And also the other thing too is, the assumption, and you as a head coach may or may not have had to deal with this, but having someone of that caliber and it not resulting in a national championship, was that something that she had to deal with as well as you guys had to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, look, she was an individual national champion for us, and we made the Final Four. We had a shot at the national championship, and it had everything to do with our team. We weren't our best that night. Yeah. And I've never been in a finals at the national championship where a less than performance wins it. It takes a lot to win that national championship. She gave us an opportunity, and I'm thankful for her because there was 24 routines on the floor that night. She was only 4 of them.
Yeah.
But she was a big 4. And, I think we would have been back last year if she'd have stayed healthy, but, not too many programs can lose the top, not just one, but the top two of the top athletes in the country, during the season. So, yeah. I was very proud of our team last year, but we definitely ran out of horses at the end. So, yeah. But I do think Suni gave us the opportunity, and if she was healthy, I do think those 4 routines would have helped us get back to the finals, and we'd have had another shot.
Yeah. No, that's very good. Also, I know you had, and I might be pronouncing her name wrong, Derrian,
yep.
Yeah, Derrian. I know she was a great performer, especially on floor and also vault, I believe, for you guys. Can you talk about what that did for, the program, but also not really to make it about this, but I think a big thing, is bringing more cultures to the sport of gymnastics. And what she did to help other, young African American girls kind of inspire her, especially in Alabama where they're, in the South where there is a lot more, probably a lot more African American gymnasts who are interested in the sport than other places around the country. So can you kind of talk about that a little bit and what kind of impact she had for you guys?
That's a great question. She was our first national champion. She'll always be our first national champion. She has a personality that I absolutely love. And when she got here, that was my goal, was to let her be her. And she just continued to grow. And I think what it does is it allows the rest of your team to be themselves as well. We became a team that had a lot of personality. Yeah. And I love that because when we show up, she used to say this all the time. When Auburn shows up, it is a party. Yeah. And she wants to play. She wants to goof off. She was an all-arounder. I could not get her to do beam the last couple of years, partially because of her body, yeah. But she also wanted to focus on the other 3 events and be better for her team, yeah. than to be a little bit less than by pushing beam too much. But I still loved her as an all-arounder. In her freshman year, she was really pretty darn special too. But, yeah, I think also bringing more cultures into the sport, or at least shining a light on it. I think that's the thing that Derrian did more than anything, is she shone a light on how you can be your own person here. Again, that goes back to gymnastics is about you building you.
Yeah.
And what she did is she built herself up pretty special. She's in the WWE now. So, and I'm going to follow her. She's signed a contract, so I get to watch her for a few years. And try to get her back to campus when she's not busy. But, this is who she built. And, what I love about that is it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
If you can develop you and have some support in doing that, but if you are putting in the work and putting in the effort and focused and driven, you can basically do anything in this sport that you want to do. And she's darn near the perfect proof of that.
Yeah. No, that's good. No, I love it. And I think, that's really important and really inspirational. It would be nice to have, her, because one of the other aspects of the podcast is I have former athletes kind of talk about their experiences. So, we can kind of talk about this off camera, but it would be nice if she's willing to kind of talk about her experience there and, being the first national champion at Auburn and, bringing that personality that you guys had, to Auburn, and stuff like that. The last few things I kind of want to talk about is one, to me, it could be confusing, or to other people who may not understand, but you guys are the Auburn Tigers, but you guys say War Eagle. Can you kind of break that down a little bit?
Yeah, the tiger is our mascot. We are the Tigers. And our mascot is Avi the Tiger. He's won, I don't know, I think it's like 12 national championships for mascot of the year. He's pretty famous in and of himself. Our rally cry is War Eagle. So, one of the stories that dates back to the late 1890s is looking back, we just played a football game against Georgia. Well, that's I think it's one of the oldest rivalries in college football, and definitely one of the oldest. I think it's the oldest in the South. So Auburn has been playing Georgia in football for years, way back to the late 1800s. And one of those games, supposedly a Civil War vet had an eagle on his shoulder. I guess he came to a lot of the games, but they called it the War Eagle. And I don't know if it flew one time or whatever, but something rallied our people to a win over Georgia. And that's supposedly one of the stories. Now there's a lot of legends, but that's one of the stories as to why we say War Eagle. Yeah. But yeah, it's like aloha. It means a whole lot of things. If somebody says War Eagle to you in the airport, you just say War Eagle back.
Okay.
And it's sort of our thing, but it is not the mascot. But we do have an eagle that flies. We have, they flew up at the Philadelphia Eagles stadium a few nights ago as well. So, really a pretty special experience here to have. We don't have two mascots, but we definitely have a lot of tradition here.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think that's very, very good and very important. The last two things I want to kind of mention. One is, if someone is interested, if there's a athlete in club who's interested, or if there's coaches or even parents that are interested in the program, who do they get in contact with, and how to best get in contact or send you stuff? And then lastly, to wrap it all up, what is something you want to leave with the listeners and the viewers, about Auburn and Auburn Gymnastics?
Yeah, I think the main thing is go online at the website, and there's a questionnaire that you can fill out, and it actually just puts you right into our system. So we know that you're interested, and we can start, following, your career. Depending on how old you are, we won't be able to get back in touch with you.
Yeah.
If you're too young. So you can always send an email to one of the coaches on the website, but that doesn't necessarily mean we'll be able to communicate with you. But the best way to do it is to just fill out the questionnaire, and that puts you in our database. And trust me, we look through the database quite a bit as we start getting into the next recruiting cycle. So,
yeah.
And about being here, I mean, I just think you got to pursue your dreams. And what we do here is we have a large fan base. I think we have one of the best student athlete experiences in the country. We get to compete in front of a sold out arena. Our seats are sold out again. It's not even we were sold out before October 1st this year. So we're sold out again. It's a lot of fun. We're on TV a lot. I think that's something that if that's what you want as a student athlete, then we're one of the schools you should be looking at. And then you got to really, like we talked earlier, you got to look into what you want to do after gymnastics. You got to make sure that we have your degree, and that any place that you go is going to have some options for you down your potential career path.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is culture. Look for the culture that communicates to you. Everybody's ticks a little bit differently. Everybody is driven a little bit differently. So there's not necessarily one culture that's better than the other, but there are cultures that work with some people better than other cultures. Yeah. And that's really, I think that's the job, as a recruit, is to go in and discover, is this going to connect with me? Can I flourish in this environment? And, I think we have a culture that allows a lot of people to flourish.
No, I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast, and thank you everyone for tuning in, to another episode of Heated Conversations with head coach of the University of Auburn, Jeff Graba. Please follow them on social media as well as, recruitable athletes. Make sure you guys fill out the questionnaire, or even anybody who's interested. Just remember that, they can't contact you until June 15th of your coming up to your junior year. And so the summer going into your junior year. But follow them on social media. As Jeff said, they have a great fan base, and make sure that you tune in to see what exciting things that they have, that they have for this season. So thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Heated Conversation. Please leave comments, share, subscribe, and see you guys on the next episode.